Tell me when. All right, and welcome back to the finals of the 2024 PeaceBridge Tournament in Ontario, Canada. We got an exciting match for you here. We just watched Phil the King Keffer play Marcel, move on to the finals, where now we see Phil is going to be playing Chris. How do we say his last name? You know, right?
Vizina, I believe, is how I've
Vizina,
always
Chris
said it.
Vizina. And with me always is, well, not always, but most of the time, is the Phil the King Keffer himself. So he's going to be able to give us a little bit of commentary on this game. Say hi, Phil.
Hey, Joe. Yeah, it's great to be back and be with you guys again for this final. Happy to be both commentating and in the final. And yeah, playing Vizina. This is the second time we played today. Chris was just having a great time. He's playing Scott Flint's deck that Scott regularly runs in Ohio, and clearly it was winning here just like it was winning in Ohio.
Yeah, went undefeated in the Swiss for the Champ of Champs. A little bit of bad luck knocked him out of the first round of that, but it also got Chris here. So, all right, well, that's a big swing right away, Phil. You have two duplicates.
I did. I had discarded 9 or less, and I forget what the other one was. Did anybody see it? Could have been a
I did not.
Colossus or something. I'm not sure. Or a Negate. I'm not positive. I just know Chris is up 2 cards now, and he just places nothing but bombs. I think
And
he
also, I
places
didn't
like
mean to leave
8.
you out. We also have Marcel. You're with us, commentating with Phil today.
I will be doing some special commentary on this game. Of course, just throwing out inside or outside perspectives from a vision.
Yeah. So one of the great things about sometimes we do the commentary live, and sometimes like this, I like doing it after because it gives us the ability to bring in the people who are playing in the game, and you get the players' insight as to what they were thinking in different situations. So well, Phil, you weren't lying. So, Chris, you pass after placing four cards. Chris drops seven cards down and keeps one in his hand, and he has got some heat. He's got two eight multis. He's got an eight energy. He's got an ally, a couple of low numerical hits. He does have that piece of full team defense. The only real advantage you have going into this hand after you have the two duplicates is that he doesn't have a lot of ways to defend his center or his wing characters.
So Chris is basically telling me my raise is garbage, and then I think he tries to go first, even though it's my turn, um, so that he can play his ally before I get to play the raise. But as you can see, he just like places 8, 8, 8 piles of good stuff. I believe he ventures 4. He's up 2 cards, but his cards are all awesome basically, and my cards aren't too great. So I'm drawing the 2 cards, and I'm really not in a great spot. But if these cards are both good, I'm gonna try to play this.
All right, so you draw the Cheshire Cat. That's the four intellect aspect that's played from the home base. You do get a white tiger. Now, you don't have a JW, which is the big thing he's got to be afraid of. But, Chris started with our league, I'd say maybe 3 Ohios ago, but he doesn't make quite as many events as the rest of the players. So, uh, definitely compared to your level experience, he's a little newer. Now, is he setting that to the side to be like, play the Raza, I'll discard it. Play the Raise, I'll discard it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what he's doing. He's just like goading me and messing around. I mean, like I said, he was really having fun. So I take a second to decide what to do here and decide to go after Spawn and play the raise. He takes the 3, which I'm not surprised. I do believe that getting pressure on Spawn is very helpful, though.
Yeah, this
So
is this
now,
is one of those situations where with you getting two dupes and him having the heat he has, like you were saying, getting those missions to the bottom hurts, and he's going to have such a huge advantage going into the next hand. I don't think that I would go four there. I think that might be, you know, him getting a little trigger happy with the situation. Now he does know he doesn't have to. Your own event shows him that he's not going to have to worry about getting teamworked, but his bombs are very slow.
I think Chris in this first hand should have really recognized his massive cards known that Phil had 2 discards. Now, one dangerous thing is to equal a good player's, card advantage back at them. Sometimes it's always better just to have that one extra card over them, and I think in this situation, if Chris would have done that, knowing he also has a detrimental event against Phil, he could have really set himself up for a potentially, like, really easy 3-4 walkthrough.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing. I mean, I don't think you can not go three. Um, but I mean, there's
I
even a world where even just going two, I mean, he had a three card placing advantage on you.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, if he goes 3 instead of 4,
You
I
don't draw
still
the
have a
white tiger
very
that you're playing right now. You only draw the four.
yeah, I still have Colossus in my hand, so even if he goes 3, there's an outside chance that I can draw a really good card off Colossus and find a way to, like, compete in this hand, or at least play long enough to get rid of the placing advantage, which is, like, crucial.
Now, were you
Um,
considering at all just firing off the discard three first and seeing if you could just shred his hand?
no, since he only had 1 card in his hand, he placed the other 7. I was fully planning to play that as an avoid draw on one of the 8s.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that he had placed out, so it wasn't going. It was only going to get. We see now it's the Scarlet Witch six. It wasn't going to get very much.
Yeah, so at this point I've got 2 hits on spawn, and I'm just like, well, you're playing any heroes and you got 1 card in your hand, so I can get that 9 or less.
Yeah, and that's just. I think that's just an experience level. You know, he saw that he had the big hits, but he probably hasn't faced down someone throwing those big attacks off the armory yet.
So there's a little risk there because he plays I know Scott Flint always plays the fairy protection avoid can't be attacked and the regular guardian, so he would have 2 chances, but usually he would have placed that card. Right now, Chris is playing the air version of the Scarlet Witch. It has a fighting icon on it, but it is a strength attack and acts as a strength. And I'm trying to decide what to do here. And I know that I can 9 or less the one of the 8s, and I know I have um, the Colossus and the Quicksilver, so I actually have overkill here. Chris is telling me what to do. But now, more or less, what I'm doing is I'm trying to um, conserve my resources. So, like, I'm gonna try to play what I would consider my third best Colossus card to try to win this hand.
I like that he's.
And
I think he's. Chris is playing a little bit quickly, and he's trying to tell you, "I want to play
so
this.
so
Just do this."
yeah, so I did play the straight avoid instead of the 9 or less because I wanted to keep the placing card, and now I'm gonna play the AX as a way to stop one of the 8s, knowing that I can block the other one with the 9 or less, and I will win Venture.
So you play that from Juggernaut. So if you guys can't recognize that card, that says the character who plays it off the battle site and the target may not attack for remainder of battle. Chris is out of cards in hand. He has no way to defend that. So he left. Phil has left Chris in a situation where there's no incentive to throw the other eight. It's just going to get blocked by the rescue operation, and I think that's a textbook situation right there of how much giving you that one card can really make a difference. That six discard two used up a big premier piece of defense, and then you were able to throw the eight over the top. Whereas betting a little more conservatively, he probably could have pulled out the win and ended up he lost the venture there too. Putting yourself with four venture in the bottom, it's a just a such a huge hill to climb up, and lost his one of his premier defenders.
Yeah, so I actually would have probably only been I don't know, I would have had to avoid draw with, Colossus to see if I would have got an attack to have it and I may have still been able to win the venture, but it would have definitely been much closer.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's even a world there where I feel like I might have gone two and just let you run, you know. Dave McMillan has a
Sure.
lot of theories about that. You know, he tends to bet differently depending on what time of the game it is. So, he's always very reluctant to go three or more in the first hand because if he loses, if the game turns like that and he can't win it, it's just such an uphill battle. Whereas if you just go two and you get it, and then you're still coming into this hand with a three card placing advantage, you can really just keep leaning on that, and that extra one venture is not always worth it.
Yeah, I mean, it is there's a lot to be said for venturing. It's a very important part of the game and a very skill heavy part of the game, and I know that people see me venture really aggressively sometimes, but I am being very careful when I do that. So right here, Chris places a card and I ask him what it is, and he goes, "Grr is confusion, grr," because he's got like Captain Hook or something.
Yes,
So
the disorient opponent is Captain Hook with the big crocodile behind him.
so now Chris is losing it when I place this 5 energy on Juggernaut because this is the card that killed his Inhumans, or that I had got on his Inhumans, which would eventually lead me to a JW kill, and his Inhumans would beat him during the round of Swiss. So when I played it, he was like, got a bit flustered, and I asked him if he wanted to sign it, just playing some head games. And he said sure. So I think somebody gets him a pen here, maybe. But like I said, we were really having a good time in the final.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing about the finals is it's an untimed match, and that's also something that's an interesting part of the game is, there's you're not really playing for the clock, but there's certainly some decks that they're attrition decks. You're trying to run your opponent out of his big hits, especially against like a Starjammers. You're either trying to kill them or trying to last until they've exhausted their big things. People like myself, I was playing an 80 card deck in this event, and the entire strategy is to move every hit to Phoenix, ignore all the damage on her because I keep bringing her back with the gauntlet, and just run the other guy out of things that he can do. Um, in
Yeah.
those
So
situations, oh, I was just gonna say in those situations. So here he is, he's gonna sign it. In those situations, it can be a strategy to try to go longer, and in the finals, the clock's not going to be there to help you, so you sort of have a little bit of wiggle room with taking a little more time to think, making sure every decision is the optimal decision.
yes. So Chris writes "you win" on it and signs it CV. Um, so that's pretty funny. But yeah, to speak on what you said about the time, it is strange because the time limits change throughout the event, and that's merely just because we don't have enough time to have unlimited timed rounds all the time. And so a deck that might be great with a 40-minute time limit isn't as good in the top eight. Like normally in the elimination rounds, we'll give an hour-long time limit for the semis and quarters, and then the finals will be untimed. So like usually with an hour, you're gonna at least get to the power pack if the game's still going. Um, which is pretty much a full game. I mean, not exactly, but yeah. And then with the regular rounds, it's very rare really to get to the power pack because, 40 minutes is just not that long. I mean, if you're playing against Derek, maybe because he plays very fast, but like if both of the players even think like a moderate amount of time, you're gonna run out of time, and if the game's really tight.
All right, so we're counting up some venture here. So Chris lost that big first hand, so we're going into hand two. Now
Yeah,
Chris
so
still
he's
has
got a
both of those eight placed. He still got some heat, but you were able to draw the negate, and you still have the nine or less in the back. You've got a stars and garters in your hand. You've got what looks to be an Omega Red activator, and then you have the 11. So you were really able to mitigate that placing advantage and load up on quite a bit of heat yourself. Now, Chris does not have a battle sight. So, as we talked about in the earlier rounds, the 11 off Juggernaut, it's one of the newer cards. It is an 11 attack against a character, but it does not count to venture. It only counts to venture if it's thrown against a battle site, which Chris is not playing. So, the 11 is only for trying to kill a character at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing to note is that the anti-hero decks basically always play Confusion because they're a little short on cards, and it's a pretty good card generally speaking. And blocking like 10 follow-ups is hard for them, but when I'm only playing 2 Teamworks in my deck, it's pretty bad against me.
It's pretty
And then
bad, and it's also it's tough. Like he saw that you were playing the no teamwork event, so the fact that he placed it, I think, is again another like subtlety to the game. You need to track those cards and say to yourself, well, if he's playing that, he's certainly not playing a full spectrum of teamworks that might end up placed if people are conceding a lot. So I probably don't want to take up my most premier placing slot for my any heroes with a card that's just going to sit there for a good chunk of the game.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, Joe. That has to be considered a mistake to place that note, that confusion, even though it makes sense, like in his head, to like place it. So
With
I'd
that
like to talk
information.
about the strategy here. Yeah, with that information. So since Chris lost 4 missions in the first battle, and I had only ventured one, I'm now only venturing one again, and I've sort of transitioned to the strategy of killing his characters because now I can kill Scarlet Witch and not really care if I win this venture if this 5 point deficit that you get when you kill Scarlet Witch. Um, and like if I happen to win the venture and more of Chris's missions go down, that's great. But I think that I can comfortably kill all of his characters in this game with no time limit if I want to.
Yeah, he's got the Scarlet Witch discard a placed card, which is nice because it can either you can try to get rid of the 11 or the negate. The good thing about targeting the negate is it almost always just gets negated because there's only other thing that's going to get rid of it is your sight negate, which you're probably not going to want to use up in that situation.
So I know I'm guessing that he has that card, and I'm telling him that he could try to he could I would let him discard one to Gore Mountain if he wanted instead. Obviously not a legal play, but I'm just messing around. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure he plays the AI here, and he's also considering that card because it beat him before. You know, on my side, I'm looking over and I'm seeing his one fighting, which I'm not happy about because that's like a very low card I'm gonna have to block because Heroes has an intellect and a multi on him.
Yeah, it's a tough. I mean, I think he does the right thing to get rid of your negate because you don't know that he's got the finite power. So if he can get the finite power through on Juggernaut, that's going to be great. But also the situation. Normally, I'd just be worried you're going to fire off the 5 and then the 11. But you also, if I'm in your shoes, I probably want to get Stars and Garters out and just really create that shell.
Yeah, so Chris had way too many cards here that he basically should like wants to play early in the hand, right? So like
Yeah.
I'm putting pressure on Witch, so that's going to make the cards that she has need to be played. And so between finite power, the AI for which he just played, the 8 and the 1, that's like 4 different turns he needs to play all the Witch cards. And like he just doesn't have the time for that.
And now if you fire these off, that gets rid of all the information he has for the finite power.
So
So
this is interesting. So he tries to kill Scarlet Witch.
oh, hold on a second. Ooh, I didn't even realize this. He can't play the finite power. We should have discarded that at the beginning of the hand.
Oh, I didn't realize that either. But what's happening here is he thought that Scarlet Witch was dead by that 11, and I stopped him from killing Scarlet Witch,
Yeah.
which is the responsibility of your opponent also. Like both the player that has the character and the other character are required to make sure that the gameplay is correct.
Yeah, so that is in the new tournament guide. So if somebody that did actually happen in the tournament and a warning was issued to both people, a character
The
was
character was
KO'd when it wasn't supposed to be. So it's the requirement of both players to maintain a proper game state.
Yeah, so right here I throw the 7 and I knock out Scarlet
Which
Witch. And obviously, like the 11 didn't count for venture, but it really doesn't matter. I have a ton of venture, and my mission, the mission's just not my strategy right now. So now he's throwing like many target hero can't attacks. Like you said, the spawn one was a completely illegal play because spawn's dead. I didn't even realize that, but the card did nothing, so I didn't even like think about it. Um, so at this point, I'm guessing I just pass.
oh, he's not even he's
Are you
he's thrown
attacking
it at
my
the
home
home
base?
base.
So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll block it. Think he's yeah, the writing's on the wall here, so so
So
now Chris has
he
6 in the
how many did
bottom.
he go? I was gonna ask, did he so he went 2 there?
He did go 2. He points to the Scarlet Witch -5, and I tell him I have 15 points of venture. So it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, so at this point, he's Chris took some hard swings at the beginning. He tried to get that 4. I think probably he's a little tilted hand too. But like you said, you switched gears to just go to character KO, and it's working. Now you've taken out both of his defenders. He's in a situation where he's going to have 6 or less avoids and cards that can just defend a special. And that's not a situation you want to be in when you're facing a lot of JW action. Now, the advantage of Chris's deck is 3 of his guys are max 8s. So he does at least have the ability to defend the 8 when it follows the JW.
Yeah, so now it's basically 4 against 2, and Chris's missions are in really bad shape. So I know that I win this game if I win this venture. Even, I don't have to venture money of mine because all 7 of his would be in the bottom, which is also, basically he will lose the game as opposed to me winning it, but it's the same effect. So I just go 1 again, and I have some card advantage, I believe, maybe a card. I don't know, or we're tie, something like that. It's close. But my hand is pretty comfortable. I have quite a few power cards. I have a negate. I didn't place anything other than that 9 or less. I only placed the 9 or less to try to get him to play some cards, basically. And he didn't, so I stopped. I ventured the 1 for the win, or the 1 so that he would be losing. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I start with this 7. I want to say, do I have an 8 also? I might have an 8 for Juggernaut also, but I'm just trying to get cards out of my hand at this point that are character specific.
Yeah, I mean, he got pretty lucky with his draw here and the number of cards that he has, but he's also, we're in hand 3. I haven't seen any big bombs for the Inhumans. Well, actually, he had the 8, he had the target person can't attack. So he has the Gemini. So he could go get one of those bombs, but he kind of opts for putting a little bit of pressure on Heroes for Hire.
So yeah, so I have a negate in my hand, but I don't know if I'm going to get to play it with the ally that I have in my hand. So I take this 4 in the hopes that I can negate it. Do I have an ally? There's some point in the tournament when I played an ally to negate the card that was there, but maybe it wasn't this game. I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm playing Doom. I'm playing a 4 energy, make an additional
Yeah,
to try
and
to
we
knock
see the
out.
same idea here. You're playing an energy deck. You could save it for that defense, but you're just kind of firing off as much pressure as you can.
And I have a lot of pressure.
Mm.
Now I know that
Chris,
he could have Fortress,
which he
and
does.
I'm trying to keep my negate for that, but what is he showing me? Oh, he's
He's
asking if
showing
he
you,
can play, yeah,
yeah, the
web-headed wizard,
Gemini,
basically.
which is the new version of Web-Headed Wizard. It would let him get a card out of the dead pile playable by either the Inhumans or Doctor Strange.
And right now he's basically telling me that there are good cards in there, because during the Swiss he played that and only had defensive cards, and that's why he ultimately didn't win in the Swiss, because he couldn't go find an attack to play. But he's
I
right,
mean,
there's
it's
certainly some good cards in there now.
Yeah, but as
there
much as
is,
he
but
thinks there's good cards, Inhumans on the brink of death, he's gonna have to take a turn before you can throw it.
with what we've seen, there's not really great cards. I mean, he can get an 8 multi, but you're gonna know to keep the 9 or less avoid for that. Pinning a character at this point isn't really going to help you that much, and we haven't seen a great teamwork go by. The cards that he probably wants to get are making you discard that avoid with Scarlet Witch, but she's dead. I don't think there are actually a lot of great options.
I mean, yeah, since the Inhumans can't be defended, really, he doesn't have any good great options. I agree.
Yeah, so he takes
He
the
did,
6 or less for Doctor Strange, hoping that it's going to block, but it does not defend a 9.
then a monster drop kick comes in to finish the deal. So now I have
And
what, 24 points of venture already. And he's down to 1 character. Yep. So I block it because it's his, yeah. probably the biggest attack he has, and it keeps heroes alive, even though theoretically I shouldn't need them. I'm not sure. So now I think I ask a rules question because I have a negate as my last card, and I want to pass with it. Um, I really want to pass with it to be able to negate his fortress if he has it, but I'm forced to play it due to the fact that any hero 4 is on the table, and I may have even like thought to block that earlier if for this reason if I had really thought about it, but then that 6 energy might have killed him. So I negate the 4, and he just shows me the fortress, and we have to play another hand.
One character. Good luck.
Which, this is the finals. He's got to take a shot at it, but we are very far from power pack, so every single teamwork, ally, and special card not belonging to Doctor Strange, all his frontline characters will have to be discarded. Where you don't have a single dead character yet, and you still have 2 cards off your Dracula's Armory. So yeah, this is going to be a tough one for Chris to pull out.
Yeah, it's a good thing Doctor Strange's character card has some sunglasses on because I think he's if you could see Doctor Strange's eyes right now, he'd be very scared.
All right, so we have 2 teamworks, 2 specials, 3 specials. Well, there's all 3 of his negates anyway. So he had 5 discards.
Yeah,
Six.
I feel like
6.
he ends up with like 2 cards in his hand or something.
Oh wow, but one of
But he
them,
has fairy protection.
one of them is fairy protection.
Yes.
So if you don't know, fairy protection is one of the new. When we got rid of Dow, we created what's called cataclysms.
He's the
That
good
is
stuff.
cards that you can essentially select for playing any heroes that are different 1 per decks. This one is an avoid an attack. Character may not be attacked.
He's trying to
So
shake my hand, I think. And I show him that I think maybe we play it. I'm not sure. Obviously, the game's over, but I'm trying to tell him we should finish it. He's like, "Come on, man. Come on. Why are we playing?"
well, you still got to finish it out. I mean, you never know. What do they say in
Yeah,
poker? All you need is a chip and a chair.
I just wanted to get to do this.
Oh, he can't have that.
Oh no, are you gonna opponent discard his fairy protection?
Now the game's over.
Yeah. And he just leaves. No, he gives the fist bump. All right. Well, that's the game. Phil, that was not the closest finals we've ever seen, but definitely stuff you can learn from if you're a newer player. That was I think the key thing there is recognizing that when Chris, you had the 2 dupes early, don't get discouraged. He went for trying to capitalize, and not only were you able to kill Spawn, but you were able to flip the switch and turn the tables and pull out that venture. Putting him in that -4 venture hole was just something he couldn't come back from. And you deciding at that point that creating enough breathing room for you to then switch gears and just focus on character KO, it turned it into an attrition win as opposed to a venture win. So
Yeah, it really is important to consider the situation because obviously that's not how I typically win a game. But once that opportunity provided itself, there was no reason for me to take any additional risks. So I just went the easy, safe route.
all right. Well, everyone, that is the final match from the PeaceBridge 2024 tournament up in Ontario, Canada. This was a great event, everyone, hosted by Howard Bertrand. He put on an absolutely fantastic event. If you guys are watching this and you haven't been to one of our events yet, I mean, they're all great, but Howard has a little bit of property. He puts a giant tent up that we compete in. There's food for the entire weekend as part of the entry fee, so he feeds us. Food was fantastic. There's drinks in the coolers the entire time. He really puts on a great event, and we broke the record, 34 people. So that throws the gauntlet down for everyone else for the rest of the year. I've been putting a lot of feelers out there because I'm pretty determined to beat the record in Boston this year. and get even more than 34. But it was a really great event. I can't say enough for Howard and not just Howard. It's he runs it, but he's got a great support team there of Zach and Nick and his two sons Tyler and Derek and the rest of his family who aren't Overpower players. They really go all out to to be great hosts and just create a really special event for the community.
And of course, congratulations to Team USA for dominating again and taking another Peace Bridge sing song down with them.
Well, we lost so many in a row. We just finally we had to come back for a few. I sung a lot of national anthems before this last couple of years.
Yeah, I want to just double down on what Joe said. I mean, this was a fantastic event. I always feel extremely well taken care of when I'm at Howard's. And yeah, you can't say enough about this group of guys and group of people just in general that come out to play these tournaments. The game is, still alive primarily because of how great these players are, as people and as friends and as a community. And this event specifically is a memorial for uh, for our good friend Ed, who passed away a few years ago. And the idea behind the event is that Ed used to hold the event at his property, and people would sleep on site as well. So, yeah, I just think that anyone that hasn't been out to an event really should try to come out to an event because most people that come out, they fall in love with it right away, and they find everyone to be very supportive and tend to come back. Like, if you come to an event, I'll almost guarantee you will come to another one.
In
And the
fact, I
next
don't think
event,
anyone who's come to an event that I can think of came to just one.
yeah, and I think so yeah, it is just a great community. And then looking forward, the next event is going to be in mid-August in at the Columbus Convention Center in Ohio. It's called the OP Cup. Um, there are many OP Cups so far, and the GOAT Marcel Auger will be there to defend his title again this year, and Elite Overpower will be represented. And I'm sure that Doug and Phil Miller will be planning to try to break the record of 34 attendees. So between the great room that they have to play in and all of the fantastic food options that are right around, uh, yeah, it's not one to be missed. If you can get to Ohio, it's going to be the place to be in August.
All right, and we hope we see you guys there.
All right, Joe, I'm going to
Thank you
sign
very
off.
much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. We'll see you soon.